Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Master Chess Web Show. And I am just going to pin everybody to the screen now because I forgot to do that. Right, this show is basically an accident waiting to happen. Now,
you in charge of the admin, yeah, no wonder.
And probably especially today's edition, because not only we are going to add to the chaos with FIDE Master and what else shall we call you? FIDE Master.
Renowned author and presenter.
Charlie Storey. Right, now I'm just gonna show you first of all Charlie's website. Right, charliechess.com. He's got other websites apparently, probably linked from this one. So right, this is his website. And we got, what's that, Queen's Gambit Academy. Right, and we got loads of stuff here. I just want to take a quick look around. Queen's Gambit Chess Villa. Go to Queen's Gambit Chess Villa, and we got 200 hours professional chess training videos.
That's mainly Andy Martin.
Oh right, okay.
Cheapest price on the internet.
It is actually.
Right, and I think it's fair to say that you work mainly with young players and achieved fantastic results. Right, you know, I mean, you know, you and Andrew are the young people's coaches here. I coach like old people that have long since given up on getting better.
Well, maybe I'll take some lessons next weekend because I'm over 50 now.
Right, okay. So this is Charlie's website, and I just want to remind everybody that this is our website, masterchesswebshow.com, and I put up a new link actually. We've got the usual contact form if you want to send us any questions. So this is where you send questions using this form, and right, you need to prove you're human. And then we have a guests page, which hopefully we'll be able to enshrine Charlie in after this show.
Yeah, we'll get all the details up.
Yeah, we'll be able to enshrine. So far we've got.
Sorry.
Yeah, we've got so far we got Adrian, who appeared last week and did a brilliant interview with us. And then finally, I want to show how you can subscribe to our Twitch show and at the same time make Jeff Bezos poorer. And what you do is you support us with Amazon Prime. And these nice people are going to come up in a second.
You may not know this, but you can actually take money right from Jeff Bezos. Right,
there we go. So you follow the instructions here, and you can support your Twitch show of choice, which will hopefully be us. You know, keep us off the streets. Anyway, that is the... Oh yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and like the video. And you should like it even if you hate it. Because we'll be happy.
You've got away with words, Nigel. I must have.
Anyway, I think it's right. I'm gonna be quiet now as Andrew takes Charles through the first game. I couldn't make head nor tail of it.
Hang on. Only my family call me Charles. What's going on here?
Well, to be honest, I was looking at Charlie's games, and there's a massive selection on the chess-based database, and it was hard to pick. You know, the correct ones that give a representation of his style. But this game is a slightly unusual game. It's from the Landudno British Championship in 2017. I'm hoping Charlie can shed some light on it because I annotated this game for my book on the Caro-Kann, First Steps to Caro-Kann. And I chose it because it's pretty unusual to see Charlie playing the Caro-Kann. So what's the story behind that? Did you prepare this specially for the game, or was it just an attempt to surprise him?
Well, obviously at the time I was trying to promote the sniper, and I was obviously, a lot of people know I was promoting it through every possible channel. I was
Yeah.
quite pioneering at the time. Obviously, I've took my foot off the gas of promoting that now. But obviously, Lawrence Trent, he is a very good theoretician.
Yeah.
And there is no doubt he did not want to lose against the sniper.
Probably
So
spent the whole morning preparing for it.
He would have spent all morning and all night preparing, getting advice off every super grandmaster he knew. And while he was doing that, I was learning the Caracan.
Well, the mayhem continues because actually he doesn't play a main line. So it's obvious that he's been surprised by the Caracan. And he comes out with this very unusual variation.
Now, he is a phenomenal attacker, Mr. Trent. And I was keen to try and get in situations where he couldn't attack me. I didn't quite manage that, but I did restrict a lot of his attacking potential. And obviously, he's playing a slightly offbeat line here with the idea of just getting me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
What I would call getting me into my sunspot. I'm sure you guys are aware of what sunspots are. Or should I explain to the listeners?
Explain it.
Yeah, explain it, please.
So Kramnik, he coined this term sunspots. And it's like every chess player has these areas in the game that they're not very strong in. It could be an opening, it could be a middle game theme, it could be an end game, it could be working with a particular type of piece or piece configuration. And if you can find these sun spots, then and you play and navigate towards them in your opponent's area where he's not that strong, then you're increasing your chances of winning. Not by being a better player, just putting him in a situation he's not very comfortable with. And if you can get players into these sunspots, then you're increasing your chances of winning. I believe he was doing that to me here. He was trying to put me into my sunspot because obviously, when you play a new opening, such as this is the Caracan, he is obviously trying to get me in a slightly offbeat line that I've got very lack of experience in, which was true. I got to this, even this position, I was scratching my head, to be honest. But Charlie, I was very mindful, try to not to let him get too active.
What if, like me, your game is just like one huge sunspot, and that you're equally weak in all departments?
Yes, so sometimes I have felt as though I've just been thrown in the middle of the sun.
Which is a good game.
I've got a second question here, actually. If he's a really good attacker, could you offer a kind of reversed Danish gambit with e5, e takes d5, knight f6?
Funny you should say that, Nigel. I couldn't afford a coach when I was younger. And it was actually you and Andy who had big influences on me. I thought you were the two best presenters on Foxy.
I don't remember suggesting that rubbish. Sorry, Nigel.
It was Nigel.
I just thought of it now.
I think it was called Danish double helpings or something like that.
Oh, right, okay.
I used the expression double helpings in it. That was
Slimmer's Guide to Chess.
It's been my video that got absolutely the best feedback. Yeah, because people just had loads of fun with the Danish.
I did as well. I used to play it when I was a youngster. It was great fun, and obviously most people can't defend. And if you get the first attack in, it's like the first strike in a boxing match. It's like, whoa, you can't recover.
So what happened here? Why you didn't go for a kind of reversed Danish?
Well, I think he's just trying to take all Lawrence's pieces. I mean, if you look at the rest of this game, he plays like a machine, just taking everything on offer. And the guy suddenly finds he hasn't got as many pieces as Charlie.
Well, what I wanted to do at the same time is, obviously, I've played a lot of British Championships, and at some point, I end up playing a Grandmaster. And I love playing Grandmasters. I don't care if I win or I lose. I just love playing. And what I realised was, Grandmasters, they know everything about chess, except there's little areas that they don't know about. And if you can get them into a little area where they don't know the main theory, then you've got every chance of outplaying them. But if you stay in those areas, you haven't got a chance. You're just going to get ground down. So
I'm pretty strong with stuff before 1930, right, as Andrew has pointed out. After that, it gets a bit more shady, and then sort of post 1990, just like nothing.
Well, let's carry on with this game, because Charlie plays e6 there, and that's a it's a unusual move in itself. I think Black normally takes this pawn, doesn't he? And then plays knight d7 or something like that.
Yeah.
I first remember seeing this in a book from Chess Sutton Coldfield. It was a book by Warren Goldman, New Ideas in Old Settings. And he actually analysed this variation. I think he might have been a correspondence player. And I haven't seen anything on this line since then. There probably is some secret weapons book on it or something like that. But it's certainly it's not that bad. It can't be that bad, can it?
Dreyev used to play it before he got coached by Dvoretsky and became really sensible. Like, because Dreyev had a really offbeat opening repertoire early on, and then he got coached by Mark Dvoretsky, and he became sort of very, very solid. Right, and by the way, Dvoris has played a different queen move. He's gone queen e2.
What, in this position?
Yeah, queen e2 here.
That is weird.
It is weird. I mean, I think he's hoping for a knight d6 checkmate.
As most grandmasters will.
As most grandmasters do.
I might have fallen for that one.
Well, I mean, and also, I just wonder about this variation. I don't recall seeing this variation in that book. I mean, can this be so bad for Black?
I would take with the e-pawn. Queen.
Well, okay, you can do that, but I'm just wondering whether Black can transpose into some normal lines, but with the queen on f3 looking a bit odd.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, let's see what Charlie did. We could spend all morning discussing this. Anyway, Charlie plays a really solid move, and Trent plays d4.
I've got an interesting little thing for you on the e6 thing.
Yeah, go
on. Before I really got into the sniper, I was trying to think about developing a system based on 3 moves. And it was either going to be e6, d5, and c6 against everything, or the g6, bishop g7, and c5 against everything. Because these are the 2 of the formations you can just about get away with in every position. And
well, what were you going to call it if it was e6, d5, and c6?
Well, the triangle.
I think it was something to do with Star Wars. It was going to be something to do with Star Wars. I can't remember what it was. I think it's one of those fighter planes. What were they called?
Stealth bomber.
Death Star opening.
No, it was the one that took out the Death Star.
Well, at the moment you've built a Christmas tree, as far as I can see. So let's carry on.
Christmas tree also works here. The arrow.
So d4, Queen b6. The game has entered the twilight zone already.
Yes. So he sunspotted me, so I sunspotted his sunspot.
So this is something I've noticed with your games. You often embrace chaos. You go into a crazy position. You're quite happy to play these positions. I mean,
That's a very good point.
Against a higher rated player, it's a good tactic.
But one thing I learned, my bread and butter, bizarrely, was trying to win Swiss tournaments in the northeast of England. And what I quickly realised was, if you have 2 or 3 draws with Black, you can't win the tournament. So what I realised was, to try and win with Black, you've got to optimise the chaos.
Yeah.
And then you can equalise through chaos.
It looks like Trent's up for it, because he's just giving you his pawns, as far as I can see. And you take it.
Well, they do say the Russian trainers, maybe that's a bit inappropriate at the moment, but let's face it, the Russian trainers used to be the best.
So how many tempi has he got for this pawn? He's got a lot of pieces out, that's for sure. You didn't feel some threat here. You could be blown away 20 moves.
What chance has he got against the Christmas tree?
But if he's not got a pawn lever, he's going to have to sack a piece to make a breakthrough, and then Black's a piece up.
That's the thing. What the beauty about the Caro-Kann is that the pawn structures are so solid. It's a very good defense. If there's one thing you want to be defending, it's the Caro-Kann.
Yeah, well, you play Bishop C5, another good move, I think.
We've been touting the Scandinavian as an improved Caro-Kann, by the way. So if you ever want to move on, then that could be a good option.
Right, so bishop c5.
Lots of
Okay.
variation.
Castles. Obviously, is he threatening knight a4 here? I think he is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's going to be dangerous.
I mean,
Well,
Trent is obviously trying to smash you off the board, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's on the verge of doing it. I have to be very careful here. It's quite easy to go wrong here with black.
I think
there only seems to be
pawn, isn't he?
there only seems to be one move to defend f7 logically, which you choose.
Normally here, knight h6 is a shocker because, you know, at some point you're going to play bishop h6. But the fact that bishop's disappeared, the knight actually sits there as a beautiful defender. It's like the holding midfielder, you know, just bringing an extra midfielder to support the defence.
And he can't attack it.
And it's actually very hard to increase the attack. However, he does find a bizarre way of trying to do it. And this shows how creative and dynamic
There he goes.
So this was this was a brave move. I wasn't quite sure if it was working. But one thing I know, when you're defending, you can never take defending for granted because it's very hard to see the defensive moves. It's much easier to see the attacking moves. So
Yes,
I was really trying to take my time here.
Well, I mean, yes, rook takes h6 it is a bizarre game. This one, it's gone off the rails, hasn't it? The pieces are on very strange squares. That rook f6 just adds to the chaos.
I mean, can you play the calm king h8?
I think that was one of my ideas.
Charlie played pawn takes pawn.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So what happens after king h8? Is he going to go? Is he going to go rook takes h6?
I think he's
Well,
going
we'll
to
have
get.
that.
I think he's going to get good compensation, probably.
Well, rook takes h6 is not easy to meet, is it?
Well, GH.
And queen h3, I suppose.
E5.
Then the queen takes h6. I'm pretty sure you might have something there.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, you're getting good
Gonna-
compensation. there.
Going to like develop his
Yeah,
picture.
it's definitely compensation. Plus, I'm a bit lagging in development over the board. I mean, the engine might. The good thing about engines is the great defending, but humans not so much.
You must have considered rook king h8 then very carefully.
Well, king h8 is definitely the sort of move. It's like a defensive tempo move, but I just think he's going to get tremendous compensation. Not necessarily winning compensation, but he's getting positional compensation with attack options if he does that. So
I prefer your move because it frees up the f5 square for the knight, doesn't it?
that's right. I don't want to be defending the entire game.
There we go.
Not difficult defense.
I do like Black's position now, actually.
Yeah, Charlie's left the rook on f6 in limbo.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned about defending since I became an England junior coach, and one of the things I teach the kids is when you're defending, just try and win a tempo. If you win a tempo in defense, it's normally enough to neutralize the attack. So this is what I'm trying to do. I don't want to take the rook. I just want to win a tempo.
His rook on f6 looks weird, doesn't it?
I don't want pieces. I want my pieces out.
It's in a very strange position, that rook. It's still in a very strange position.
It is. He's got knight d5 and stuff as well on the horizon and stuff.
But Charlie, forget about development, says Charlie. I'll just eat all your pawns.
I just ignore all of his pieces and try to put exactly what
I'll
I
take
did.
the rook later.
There's
The
a lot
rook
to do.
the rook will wait.
This is
I remember seeing Lawrence Trent after this game, and he looked shell shocked because it was the last British I commentated on, 2017, and he looked like he was exhausted or something. He came out of the tunnel with his hand on his head like this,
Yeah.
and shaking his head like this. He said, no.
What round was this?
Hey?
What round was it?
No idea.
I think it's round 4 or 5 or something.
Round 4 or 5. Okay.
I mean,
So, yeah. I mean, do you think he might have been hoping for a GM norm or something in this event?
I think he
hoping
was.
to win.
Actually.
I believe he has aspirations.
He was, I think he started to be a commentator around about that period. He was like a famous commentator.
Yeah, straight after this game,
Oh,
he retired
after this game, went to do chess commentary.
Not as good as you two guys, obviously, but he's like, you know, us young pups, we're trying to get a slice of the market.
Well, I think there's like a fine line between being entertaining and being allowed on the air at all, you know.
Yeah, that's
The only way we can get on is to do our own show, you know.
Well, anyway, he's boring in now with Queen E5. If that's the right word.
So he's doing everything correct. He's doing everything correct.
I presume there must be some cheapo on the horizon.
There's only one thing he's done wrong in this entire game.
I would say turning up.
All of his attacking moves are excellent. But the problem is he's attacking the Caro Can. You just can't do it.
Well, let's see. Charlie's, forget about development. Just get the Queen into the game. Knight F4. And you can see why he was feeling so shattered at the end of this game.
Yeah, he was threatening Knight H5 there. That was coming. That was good.
Yeah, that's a nasty one, isn't it? So let's see. Now, there's no cheapo with Knight D5 or something.
Well, that's what he tried. Knight CD5.
Yeah.
He's just sort of throwing everything onto the bonfire.
He's desperate to play Knight H5, isn't he?
Yeah.
He is.
Except I think it loses the Queen right now.
No, I meant after Knight D5.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Interference move.
Yeah, Knight H5 is a serious threat.
Yeah.
Oh,
you just took it. Took it.
I
Can't be that serious.
You just kept giving me his pieces.
That's what I said at the start of the game. You just took all his pieces.
But this Knight H5 was a bit awkward. I was like, how do I deal with that? And then I realised there was an easy way.
Okay, so Queen E7. What happens now?
Yeah, Queen E7. That would be a problem. Except the whole
Queen
point.
C7.
Yeah, the whole point of Knight A6 was revealed. Yeah, what I liked about this game that both the knights went to the most ridiculous squares, but it was probably correct to do so.
Yeah, well, it certainly adds your defence. I think that's the reason, isn't it? Queen C7 just refutes it, doesn't it?
And that's it. That's the tempo and defence, and that was it.
That's it. So back he goes, and that's a nice move. I like that move.
Yes.
Again, it takes out all the tactics. You're so far ahead on material, you can afford to give, something back.
I just want to give something back as fast as possible and have a lead in development. That'll do me.
So if he goes knight takes F6 check, you go rook takes, yes, rook takes, and then queen takes queen.
Yeah.
Yes,
and that is the end of his attack. 2 pieces down. So he tries the confusing move, rook takes D5. And now I liked your next move as well. I thought it was excellent.
Oh, was that bishop E6 or something?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, just getting rid of a piece.
Yeah. Well, what was Lawrence's reaction when you played bishop E6? Can you describe it to us, or weren't you sort of watching him?
I think you've probably seen it coming. I think the main problem was when I played. I think he missed Queen C7 in his ultimate calculations. That was the main thing that he missed.
Right.
He knew the rest. I think he knew this would be coming from here, but Queen C7. I think he was, as Fisher would say, he was starting to squirm a bit.
It just busts him, doesn't it? That move. It's a lovely move.
Yes, it's just connecting the roots up.
So let's just see what happens if he takes. You take the queen, and then play knight C7, isn't it? Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a knight C7 as well. Yeah.
And the knight on the edge. The knight on the edge administers the final blow.
I'm beginning. Seeing this game makes me think there might be, really a case for the De Brucker defence with 1c6 followed by 2 a6. Knight on a6 and c6 is so, is also useful.
So he goes back.
Who was playing that, not just De Brucker.
And now he's simply a piece and a pawn down.
Yeah, it's
nothing to do. It's all over. So he tries something.
And this is, I sometimes play a bit in the Lawrence Trent style. There's nothing worse than your attack not working, and then you've just got to sit there, just bored out your skull. You're going to get beat.
Not only is it not working, he's got nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, there's no counterplay now.
There's no cheapos, nothing. So might as well pack it in.
The problem was I didn't want to win this because at the time I was promoting the sniper, and then I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to start promoting the Caracan.
Well, you could call it the day off from the sniper. Or
Yeah, you
something.
could always say, you know, I thought
Actually-
I'd give my sniper a rest.
Have a sniper away day and play the Caracan.
I'm convinced the 7 hours he spent prepping on a sniper was quite useful.
And that was it.
I meant, you know, or say, well, I meant to play the sniper, but my hand slipped and the pawn dropped on c6.
That's right.
Well, anyway, that was it, and that was it. So that was it. Lawrence resigned, and became very upset, I guess, because it's not nice to lose to a. Huh?
He's a lovely guy, but obviously, whenever you get beat off somebody who's like lower rated in a tournament, it's painful. Chess is a painful game.
He set the scene for his own defeat by trying to smash you. I mean, if he played positionally, which is the recommended course against a lower rated player, then it would have been a different story, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But
It's the same story.
Instead of a Charlie story, yeah.
He tried to wipe you out and sacrificing all his pieces, and you just took them.
Offer me a central pawn, I'll take it.
There's hope for you yet, Charlie. You take all the opponent's pieces off. Yeah, nice game.
I don't think I've ever had a game where I put the Black Knights on H6 and A6.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm quite taken with this knight on A6. Well, we had that the other day, didn't we, Andrew? In some weird opening.
Well, look, let's ask Charlie a few questions, because I'm sure not all the viewers will know everything about him. So, firstly, how did you get into chess? And you were brought up in the northeast of England, which is traditionally quite a tough area to play chess in, because it's a long way from anywhere in the northeast, and it must be really tough to play tournaments.
Well, it's funny. I noticed you got my next game queued up here against Boris Kryman, and you're absolutely right. It was when I was growing up. There was no FIDE rated tournaments whatsoever in the north of England, or next to zero. And this tournament I played him in here, I both organised it and played in it. It was called the Holy City event. And believe it or not,
I remember it. Yeah,
it was the first event that was ever transmitted live across the internet. The first ever live transmitted event. A friend of mine called John Young, who I think is a Scottish FIDE master now, he was sitting in my hotel room in Jesmond in Newcastle, and we were near where my room was, my apartment. My apartment had internet. The hotels didn't have internet back then. This was 1997 or 98 or something. The hotel didn't have internet, so he would come, see the moves, run back to my apartment, and relay the move almost live. A bit like they do in the British, a bit like they used to do in the British Chess Championships.
£5 a day, I remember it well.
And this tournament was relayed live at the Internet Chess Club. It was either the first or the second ever relayed live tournament, Grandmaster tournament.
Real challenge for you.
So anyway, to answer your question, yes, it's been really difficult to have FIDE rated tournaments, and what I did was I used to organise them and play in them at the same time, so I could actually get FIDE rated tournaments. It was that bad. That's how hard it was to play, and I couldn't really afford it at the time. I was on a real humble income, and I couldn't even afford to go and play tournaments across the country. So I thought, well, how do I fix this? So I organised these international events in the north of England and played in them. Now this one was amazing. This Boris Kryman one. What happened was, because it was like a low budget movie. I was doing it on a low budget. We had to move from one venue to another venue in about 2 hours into the game. all the players were made aware of this, and we all stopped the clocks. We marched across from one venue to another hotel about 100 meters away, and then
was that because of the checkout time?
Sorry,
were you supposed to check out at a particular time? So the
hotel we were staying in originally, they had already they had booked yoga in there in the playing hall, so we had to march across the road from this hotel where there was yoga halfway through, go to this other hotel, and we finished it off in there. So obviously, in this game, Boris Kryman, I actually won this game. I mean, he didn't complain or anything. He took like a man, sort of thing. And but it was the most bizarre marching across the road in the middle of a tournament you could ever imagine. But nobody complained about it. They just accepted it and got on with it. You know, these days everybody,
Oh yeah.
everybody would be finding an excuse, but they all took it.
I remember,
yeah,
of course,
so-
the chess in the northeast now is building up, isn't it? A lot of strong players suddenly.
Yes, we've got some good, strong juniors there now. One of the things I did in the northeast to try and survive when I was younger, I was playing lots of open tournaments, trying to win the tournaments, but they weren't very big prize money. They would range from like 30, I was going to say euros, £30 to like £300 typically. And that's for a full weekend's work. That's quite tough, you know. That's like 4 hours on a night time. That's another 8 hours Saturday, another 8 hours on a Sunday. That's a lot of hours to try and win 300 quid, you know.
And you have to pay your expenses.
And by the time you paid your expenses and everything, and your entry fee, because I didn't get free entry fees, you're lucky if you're breaking even unless you win the tournament outright.
Yeah.
So what I realised was I had to win these tournaments outright with some consistency. And to do that is really, really difficult because obviously you only get 50% blacks. So this is why I come up with this idea. I realised players who are under like 2300 strength, when they come up against chaos, against somebody who's used to chaos, they just collapse. So, you know, the easiest way to get chaos is with like the modern defence and openings associated to the modern defence, because nobody can really remember any theory and they just go in thinking, oh, I'll just work it out when I reach the board. So, that seemed to work quite well. But most of my players I was playing were under 2300 strength, but it did allow me to win open after open after open.
Yeah.
And that was going on for 10 years. And one of the reasons I used to be so good at winning opens was it would typically be a weekend, Friday, Saturday and Sunday night. And most of the players would go out on a Saturday night, drinking, having an Indian curry or something. But me, I needed the money to survive. So I would stay in on a Saturday night and prepare for everybody using this new program called ChessBase.
Wow.
I just come out. So I was using ChessBase when everybody else was still looking at books. And that seemed to be quite useful, especially as they were all going out for a curry, they're going out for a curry or getting drunk on a Saturday night. I'd be in there being like a super geek.
I think
So
Gary
when did you,
Kasparov had the same attitude, didn't he? He was like one of the early adopters of ChessBase. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. I had Chess Assistant early on. I had Chess Assistant 1 and 2, and they were really good when they were MS-DOS. They were brilliant, these programs.
Yes.
But I went off them when they went to Windows.
I remember having the MS-DOS version. No, it was MS-DOS and Fritz first, and then I think I got some chess-based program then.
When did you get into junior coaching? Was it around that time or a bit later?
Sorry, repeat that, please, Andy.
When did you get into junior coaching then? Because you've had a lot of success with kids, and was it around that time or a bit later?
It was a bit. It was a little bit later. I was quite lucky in the northeast. I was lucky to work at a private school up there. It was like the second best school for chess up there. The best school was the RGS, and the second best school was a school called King's School in Tynemouth.
Oh.
It's like a private school. And I was fortunate to be their chess coach, where I would typically do 2 or 3 hours a week, which I did for many, many years, from about the year 2000 till 2012. And that was when I started learning how to be a better chess teacher, interacting with the parents. Obviously, that's a big thing when you're a chess coach. You've got to learn how to interact with the parents reasonably well. And that was quite interesting, because I was obviously brought up in tough circumstances on a council estate, and then suddenly I was in this private school teaching all of these kids who got quite a lot of luxury and privilege. So that was quite a learning curve for me, trying to understand how to do that. But I adapted to that quite fast, and then it was mainly group teaching, and it wasn't until I started coaching James Morby way back in, when was that? That was about 2005-ish, I think.
Who has become very strong. He's become very strong, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I started coaching James, and it was the first time I started coaching a student, and the parent was giving me more than 1 hour a week with a student.
Oh,
So I was sometimes doing 2 hours a week. Sometimes even I would do a week Saturday 3 or 4 hours with him. And he was about 10 when I started coaching him, and he was a naturally intelligent kid, as most chess players are, and I developed a really good rapport with him, because one of the things I learned, because I'm also a football coach, one of the things you should try and be for any kid is some sort of role model. And when I did the football coaching courses, they said you should be some type of role model to the football. So at the time, there was no formal chess coaching in the UK. Everybody was just like, weren't quite sure how to coach chess. They were just sort of guessing. There was no formal programs of teacher training for chess coaches. So I was actually teaching them in the style that I'd learned through being a football coach. And we used to play lots of football together. And we got this great rapport going between a 10-year-old and, some aging bloke. And we had a bit of a laugh. And about 3 years after that, he became very strong. I think he became the best under 12 in the country at the time that we'd ever had. He was over 2,200 somehow. He got to about 22:30 or something at the age of about 12. And I think that's one of the fastest accelerators we've seen in a junior. I think only Yichin Han, who ironically also went to the same school, has surpassed him. It was very interesting working with James, and I had to, because I was coaching a lot with him, I took a lot of sort of soundings off various people, and that improved my coaching quite a lot. But I think my first ever assignment, which I got, was actually given by you, Andy. I remember it was at the British Championships. I just defeated Keith Arkle with the sniper at the time. I don't think anybody knew it was a sniper back then. So I just played black. I played this very good game against him, and I managed to beat him on one of the high boards. Obviously, Keith's an excellent player. He's had his fair share of beating me as well. But after the game, I don't know if you remember, you said, Charlie, there's a chance there's a coaching role coming up to take the under-16 Olympiad team to Turkey.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they were at a fantastic time, I think.
And I obviously jumped at the chance, and I was like, oh, wow, yeah, England coach, that's always been my dream. I never thought I would probably make it, because I'm just a FIDE master, and normally the grandmasters normally get first pickings on these things if they want them. But obviously, I think something must have happened where he'd seen I was a reasonably good communicator, and I do teach chess very well, and I normally get along with the kids great. Obviously, when you've got a mental age of 12 like me, it's quite easy. So sure enough, I went on that trip, and obviously once you've had a job as an England coach, you'd actually boost your status with the juniors, and parents see you as an England coach. And that was the catalyst for more and more England work. And obviously, when you work with the ECF, you get access to more talented juniors. And obviously, if you're going to be good at chess, you've got to be a talented junior now. And obviously, the parents normally need to be able to pay for one-to-one instruction at some point, because group coaching is good, but it's very inefficient. You've only got a finite amount of time to work with a junior, and let's say if you got 10 hours and that 10 hours is spent on group training, they're never going to be as strong as the one that's got the 10 hours direct mentorship of a master. Not even close, because there's too much repetition to going over, and there's problems in the classroom. You don't get efficient learning. Well, I wouldn't think you get efficient learning anyway. And this is one of the things I learned when I stopped finishing James, actually, when I stopped coaching James when he was about 13, I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship at King's College University in London. So off I went down to King's College London to be a computer science teacher, and I learned all about pedagogy. That was a word I wasn't really familiar with, and it really stretched me, that, because it was very difficult learning to be a proper teacher. there's so many lesson plans you have to do in advance, and critique from other teachers above you, and constant refining of your style, your teaching style. It was very, very difficult because you're being monitored all the time because you're working with kids and in good schools, and there's a teacher above you. I found that really tough. Obviously, when you're a chess teacher, you rarely get monitored. You know.
Well, not only that, you're teaching kids who want to learn. I mean, actually, in a normal school, you often find, well, that's what I've noticed with normal teachers, you know, they're actually teaching a group of kids. Half of the kids in the class might not be interested in the lesson at all. So that makes it even more difficult, doesn't it?
That's absolutely right. And whenever, you know, I've taught many subjects now in many different types of schools. And one thing I love about teaching chess, which is why I do it now more than teaching in schools, is simply what you just said. The kids actually want to learn. And when you get kids that want to learn the subject, it's a joy to be a teacher. But when you've got those 2 or 3 at the back that don't want to learn, and you've got to spend most of your time just classroom management, it is annoying and painful. It's a bit
I found avoiding the cabbages is a bit of a problem. You know? And they're hurled at you from the back of the classroom. Anyway, let's get on with this interesting observations there. Let's have a look at this game against Boris. And now I think Nigel's going to take you through this one.
Oh, I am, am I?
Another example of Charlie chaos coming up.
Right. Well, it's I'm struck by the variety of your openings actually, because the final game, which we're hoping to be able to go through, is a 1e4 game against Stephen Gordon, and this is a Grunfeld defence. I mean, you overlooked that you've got this very strong 2 knight f3 and 3 knight c3, but it wasn't well known at the time.
Well, there's an interesting story behind this variation. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go on.
So when I was younger, I was basically, you know, when I got into chess around about 14, 15, 16, I was living in a homeless shelter. I literally had no money. And at the time, there was this excellent trip organised to Russia. And all of the top juniors were asked, apart from me. And do you know why I wasn't asked? Bit of a sob story. Everybody knew I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. So I wasn't even asked to go on this Russian trip, even though I was clearly one of the top juniors in the area at 15. And it was quite painful. However, one of my friends did go, again, John Young. And he told me that Mihai Tal had been discussing when they went to Russia this idea of H4 in this position.
Okay. Yeah, well, it did become popular later, didn't it?
I think it was Polyglaevsky's idea, actually.
Yeah. Well, Polyglaevsky certainly was playing it, but whether or not he was the originator, because there was quite a lot of cooperation between players, and they would look at some line, and I think they would practice together. So news would get out. So whether it was Polyglaevsky or some other guy, but
hasn't Carlson played this as well recently? H4 or something similar.
You're not going to call it the Carlson marriage. I thought we had a rule about that.
I stick by what I say. If you want to make money in the present chess world, just add the name Carlson to any opening there. Forget the Lopez. Forget it's the Magnus Carlson Bishop probe.
Well, Carlson does mean Carlson, I think.
Just remember those words.
So Bishop D5, that wins a tempo.
Is that D5 a move? I thought they're supposed to go Queen A5 check.
Yeah, I think you are supposed to go Queen A5 check and then like Bishop D7 and Rook D8 or something.
Do you remember this game, Charlie? It's a long time ago.
I do, yes.
Was he surprised? He was shocked by this H4, was he?
I think he was a bit shocked, and basically because Boris Kryman, I think, was a Russian. I think he was a Russian.
Well, he went to the US, didn't he? Wasn't he Josh Waitzkin's rival?
Yeah, he was really
in the US.
A super cool guy, actually. I think he was a top martial artist as well. So I was a bit afraid of that.
Isn't he a grandmaster now? I think he is, isn't he? Kryman?
Yes, he is. Yes, I think he's in America now. He's an American grandmaster, and I think he's got a successful law firm, something like that.
Ah. Right, we'll carry on then.
Enforcement, or sort of as a lawyer.
I think he makes his money as a lawyer. I could be wrong on that, actually. I saw it on LinkedIn. That's something to do with he was in the legal industry.
Well, I better point out for the viewers: Bishop takes b5 is met by Queen a5 check, winning a piece.
Yeah, I don't.
Not even a lawyer can get you off that check.
Yes, you would need a barrister for this one. Some sort of barrister.
Keep going.
I was just thinking knight c3, queen takes c3 check, bishop d2. That
hang on. Nearly worked. Queen d4.
Yeah, queen d4, and you get the rook in the corner. So anybody who thinks this might save white is mistaken. Well, I don't know. Who gets whose rook? No, this is all nonsense. We're not gonna go there.
Well, black wins a pawn. Let's put it that. Queen takes
black
a1.
wins a pawn or something. I don't know. So it's not quite as bad as it looks. But if you're that clever to see knight c3, you probably avoid this line altogether.
Yeah.
So bishop d5 wins the tempo. Bishop b7, h5. Well, that.
So at the time, whenever you played like this, h4, h5, everybody used to frown on it and say it was terrible. But one thing I've learned, obviously I've got some experience on the fianchetto, is that whenever there's not a knight on f6, h4 and h5 is highly important.
Yeah.
But if there is a knight on f6, it's normally a slight positional mistake. Play h4.
It looks dangerous.
Yeah, well, I just hate this. This is why I'm advocating the Queen's Gambit declined all the time. Just about every show. Because this Grunfeld stuff. If it's not the Tarzan attack, then it's this. Or 3h4 or something. Anyway,
Yes.
We have the bishop coming back here, and now black gives the check, but rather late, and white can just sidestep this with king f1. He doesn't want a castle because he's got the rook on the h file, loading up on this h file for a possible mating attack. Now black goes rook a d8, and take on g6, takes back, pawn to d5, which is an interesting move.
Very imaginative.
Yeah, because you want to play knight f4, but you don't want the d pawn to fall.
It's interesting, back here in 1997, I didn't really fully understand positional chess.
You don't say.
And I was a one-trick pony. I just had to find a way to attack. It was all those Danish double helping videos. It seemed to
we'll see your more mature side in the game with Stephen Gordon.
Clearly, the rook on a1 is no concern at all for you.
Yeah. So bishop takes a1, queen takes a1, has an attack. He's got a threat of queen h8 mate. Just show the audience this.
There's
queen
a very long move. Very long move.
We've got a threat. Two threats actually: rook h8 mate and queen h8 mate.
Pawn takes knight. Not to mention pawn takes knight.
Not to mention pawn takes knight. So moving swiftly along, d5. we need time for the Gordon game. E takes d5. Right, and now knight f4.
He's bringing his queen in. The queen is coming.
Yeah. So still bishop takes a1, queen takes a1. It's got lethal threats. Knight e7, and now queen g4 with the strategic idea of domination of the h file.
That was all I knew how to do, get the open h first, mate. One trick pony.
It does look extremely strategic, Nigel. You must admit.
Yeah. So I guess there's an idea here after bishop takes a1 because the queen's no longer covering that, and it would be.
Yeah, you don't want to give up a sniper bishop.
So what's the answer here? How do you make him?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, he's got no useful check, so I've got a free attack move, and I guess I've got a number of choices, but I think I just play queen h4, intending queen h7 and bishop h6.
Then he's got to go rook f8.
Yeah, rook f8.
Now then.
Queen H7.
Oh, Queen H6 and then Knight E6 and Bishop H6. That's nice.
That's the one.
Yeah. I was, you know.
Oh, right.
Queen
Oh,
eight. Let's see that. Queen, yeah.
King F8.
Yeah.
Knight
Hey,
E6 check.
Get in there.
I'll
Can
take
you get that?
Right.
And then there comes the bishop. Boom. It's not
Right,
right yet, though.
Bishop G7,
Bishop.
Queen takes G7, checkmate. And it was probably around this point in the game that Boris Kryman started considering law as a career.
Actually, I think it was because he would have had a good legal case with FIDE to get the points back because we did march from one hotel to another round about the beach.
That's just bizarre, isn't it?
So, Rook Fe8.
It was the low-budget movie.
Right. So presumably, well, Queen H4 has still got the same idea. So
Plaskett won the tournament. Plaskett won the tournament, and then he went on to win Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
it's still there. This same thing. It's a transposition. So Queen H4, and now Black played Queen A6.
No, but seriously, I know it was a long time ago, but you must have seen all those lines at the board in order to play this. Or you weren't just punting this attack, surely.
Well, I wouldn't say I saw all of the defences, but I have something called the 9-point rule. If you have 9 points of units against a slightly exposed king, then you just win.
Right.
You either
That's
checkmate or
basically
you get
the queen,
a by
isn't it?
material.
The queen, you need a pawn as well as the queen.
That's interesting. In that equation, I count the queen as 7 points, and pawn is 2 points, which helps with the 9-point rule.
Okay. So
Well, he's under fire here. He's
So,
under, can't finish him off straight away. Hang on. There's no finish straight away.
well, he's covering E6 with the queen.
Yeah, but I was thinking of them playing Bishop H6 after that. Queen H7, King F8, Knight E6, Queen takes Bishop H6. What does he do?
Defends the
Say
bishop.
that again, Andy. Say the sequence again.
Queen H7,
Yeah,
King F8,
yeah.
and then Knight E6.
Yeah, queen takes, bishop H6,
Yeah.
queen F6 or E5.
And I don't have Queen H8 because you go Knight G8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming back.
Okay, I stand corrected.
He's
Rook.
using the
Rook D1, king F8. And now the calm E takes D5,
Yeah.
just recovering the sacrifice pawn.
Leaving him in a terrible mess.
Yeah, with
Yes.
all the pieces still attacking.
Queen F6 looks as though it might offer some resistance.
Sorry?
Queen F6 look as though it might offer some resistance.
Queen F6. Well, it's still probably Queen H7. That even threatens Bishop D4, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's nasty. And then he can't play Knight F5 because the Bishop C5 check.
Yeah.
That Bishop C5 check is a killer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think-
yeah.
So you can play it right away now.
Yeah. Well, now after Rook D6,
Okay, well.
the game is essentially decided. But I mean, to build up this position, then White needed to see all these attacking options.
I mean, that's a nice move as well.
Queen G5 just consolidating.
Could he even play G? I couldn't play G4. I was thinking, oh, is that?
Well, one thing I couldn't be accused of in this game is using a computer, because I don't think the computers were around in this year, was it? 1995.
G4, Bishop F6, and the White Queen is lost. What about that?
Yeah, this is after the tournament. It was played in a place called Jesmond in Newcastle, and the other competitors were calling me the Jesmond Butcher after this game. It was a butcher called the Jesmond Butcher.
Why play positionally when you can play 96?
After the game, James Plaskett, he came up to me and he said, "Hey Charlie, I didn't know you could play chess."
We must get him on the
So after
program,
Paul
Nigel. He
takes-
sounds like a perfect guest for us.
Pawn takes,
Yeah.
Queen
Yeah.
takes G6, presumably. I suppose.
Yeah, is this the game?
Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It does.
So, but we want to get the other game in, don't we? So Bishop B2. G4.
Fisher's favourite move. There it is. Got it in. Bobby Fischer.
Back to E7. And now white just goes Queen
There
H6.
we
Oh,
go.
gosh.
Coming in for the
Horrible.
kill.
Horrible.
F takes
9 point
E6.
activated.
D takes E6.
Oh, look at this calmness.
Because when the Queen moves, we have Queen H7 check and Queen F7 mate.
This is a good game. I forgot about this.
What I like about this game is at the end, the other rook is on 3 on H1. You don't give a damn about your rooks.
It was either good or lucky, one of the two.
And the rook on H1,
Maybe both.
and he can't take anything.
Right, shall we go on to the Stephen Gord game? We're going to have to zip through this one a bit because we.
Yeah,
Right, do you remember this game?
I do remember this one. Yeah, this was a bit weird. First of all, Stephen is a lovely, lovely guy, and I didn't want to beat him. I went to Mallorca to play in a tournament, and he turned up. We were the only 2 English guys in the tournament, and I was doing really well. I was beating grandmaster after grandmaster in the tournament, and then I was also posting on some British news place, and I remember there was this famous. He was like a famous writer down south. He's been a chess writer for many, many years. I can't remember his name. What's his name? He's one of the most famous chess writers.
Leonard Bard.
Yeah, he does an article on modern papers. Was it Barden?
Barden, I guess.
It might have been him. Anyway, I was talking about. I was doing a bit of promotion at this particular news site. Just saying, I'm advertising my chess services, advertising a sniper. And there was some discussion about Stephen Gordon and I playing in this tournament, and I was doing quite okay, and so was he. Stephen was on about the same points, and he came on this writer of this news article. He'd been doing it for years. You say it's Borden, I believe, but I just remember him coming on, and for no reason he says, "Well, it doesn't make any difference because Stephen Gordon's going to finish above him anyway in the tournament." I thought, what are you saying that for? I think I actually finished above him anyway in that tournament.
Well,
don't quote me on that.
This was in the British at Torquay in 2019. You got an IM norm there, didn't you? Right.
It was. This was, and but I played in Mallorca about 3 months earlier, 2 months earlier.
So is this the game you didn't want to beat him in, or the other one? Right, when you played Bishop G5 against his Najdorf, going with a meat cleaver. He's a lovely guy. I really didn't want to beat him.
So this was fascinating.
This is the move of the guy who doesn't want to beat him.
Yes.
not that.
So what I learned when I prepared for Stephen in this game was he is excellent in the Najdorf. He's absolutely brilliant in just about every variation, except I'd realised there was one little pattern he'd never played against.
That one.
Now, and it was the pattern with Queen G3. When you put the Queen on G3, I realised it was one of his sunspots. So I was like, if I can get the Queen on G3, he has to think for himself. He can't just rely on all his pattern recognition, and he can't just rely on his theory and all of his experience, because he's got no experience when the Queen's on G3 that I could see anyway.
Well, of course,
yeah.
F4 is the absolute main line, and I presume any Najdorf player will know this backwards, their own preference.
Yes.
The problem with this for white is that you have to know everything, every single line.
Why didn't you go 6 Queen D3? Get the Queen to G3 even faster.
Well, you could do it now. Go there as well.
That is an option as well.
I believe I've seen people playing Queen F3 here. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. They've had like this splurge on unusual 6 moves recently, including A3, Rook G1, H3's old hat, isn't it? That's Fischer. But
Queen F3 was the old move. I remember it being played in the 1950s and 60s here. Yeah, it's not a new move. It's not a new move, but I mean, I think for the unprepared, it can be actually quite dangerous, as Charlie's about to show. So your Queen goes to G3, sorry. He goes H6, and now you just come back. So what we got here, we've got a kind of English attack, but with the Queen on G3.
And the beauty of this is he's now in a situation where he's completely having to think for himself, and he's got to defend well because it's not clear how to defend. He can't just play a move like G6 because obviously a pattern with G6 and a pawn on D6 is not so.
Well, there's also
good.
a move like knight takes E6 in the air in some positions, isn't there? And then
Yes,
a sudden
that's
check on
that's
G6.
possible. That
Yeah.
would be nice. You know, if he manoeuvred his knight to E7, knight E. Well, oh no, that would be anyway.
I suppose the only drawback to having the queen on G3 is you blocked your pawn on G2, so some sort of pawn bayonet attack is not.
I think the main thing is he cannot play easily.
No,
he just cannot move his G pawn or his bishop.
So you defended your pawn. So now we've got this English attack position, but it's slightly different because the pawn will be on G4 normally. Now you've got queen on G3. So yeah, you've taken him out of his book, haven't you?
This was the plan, just to get him here. But White's probably still a little bit better in the centre. And no matter what, White will probably have the safer king for the rest of the game. So this is actually a very difficult problem for Black to solve from here for the rest of this game.
He can't easily get his king out of the middle, can he? So it's interesting.
He can't cast the queen side. If he moves his bishop, I'm probably just going to take on G7. So he's probably going to have to play a G5, and then his king is never safe. So strategical objective completed. Plus
G5 though. Well, I mean, you could always put your queen on F2 if you need to, if in an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, he could have grabbed the bishop pair, but in grabbing the bishop pair here, if he takes on D3, there's still these annoying weak king to think about.
Well, we've got the C file now.
File too. Yeah. That looks much worse. I was actually thinking with the knight on C5, it may be possible to go G6 and then E5.
Yes, I agree. He should have delayed there. There's no rush to take that bishop. I was a bit surprised.
H5 looks, it looks pretty risky because you know then that your king side will never be habitable.
No.
Yes, and very rare does it work to play G6 and D6. Sometimes, but very rarely.
I quite like this move here. Yeah, actually,
didn't go very well, but I did it.
What does he do? I mean, he's not that easy for Black even here. The D6 pawn's quite weak, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to build up on. I guess that's why.
Well, he played at H5, which looks, as Nigel says, a bit impatient.
You would take on D3. He's frightened me, just pressurising the D6 square.
H5 is a strange move, and it's just trying to mix things up. He probably realises that it's not an ideal position, so he's trying to mix it up.
Well, he wants to drive the queen away, so he can try and.
I think he's lost as soon as he activates that plan. I think he's lost anyway. But he had to try something because that queen was a real annoying G7 pressurizer.
Well, it's quite annoying now because it's attacking B4.
Yeah, that was that. I don't think he realised it was attacking B4. I can probably take that.
Did he intend to go? Would he print something like that? Is that his intention? He didn't do that, but I just wonder why not.
That's a very standard idea against this F3 E4 structure. I guess I might have some.
I mean, you could go E5 and F4. Could you not go in? And then just treat it as a kind of bad French?
Yeah, it's like F5's probably coming. That's very dangerous. He has to play G6.
Might come anyway.
And then I guess.
Do you ever take the B4 pawn? Probably not, because your queen's in too much danger.
Well, is it? I don't know.
Knight takes D3.
And then we do.
Yeah, you can take the queen. It's getting a bit sharp, but
knight C5. Knight back to C5.
C5.
Knight D3, C5. Queen B4, Rook B8. Well, there's probably some compensation there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
There might be something better in there because I was,
I just found this is slightly surprising, isn't it? Maybe just wants to do that anyway. But I mean, this is opening the game up for your pieces, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing is, he's quite behind in development now, and you can't just open the centre when you're down in development.
Solid play. Yeah, this is now getting a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to need a bit of luck to survive here, I think. It was still a bit problematic. He goes slightly wrong here. He makes life a bit easier.
Nice move.
Yeah, just playing in the centre. That's one thing I learned eventually. Just keep playing the centre. You don't have to attack the king. It took me about 30 years to figure that out.
Well, your king is totally safe here, isn't it? Safe as houses, really.
Yes, he
The
has.
the pressure in pawn and h4 stops him castling because he would like to be able to castle, but
Now we're coming up to
I think it was G5 was the move.
an amazing phase of this game. First of all, that's a slightly unexpected move, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a nice pressurised on the centre tempo.
And now the next move is amazing.
Yeah, that's a nice move. I thought it looks. I think he might have missed that because obviously there's 3 pieces and 3 pieces on it.
Well, let's face it, it's easy to miss.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did he do? He castled. So let's just have a look at this. So what would you do?
Queen g4.
G takes. Yeah, I think Queen G4 was the idea, and the rook's starting to look a bit nasty.
Very nasty. And then just take his on E5 even.
Yeah, and I'm crashing through. And the thing here is, the reason white's clearly better, if you just compare the white rook on D1 to the black rook on A8, it's just he's fighting a rook down basically.
And his poor old king.
And his king's in the centre now. So
King on g1.
I think F4 is a splendid move. It's very
Yeah, it's really good.
That.
Really
Very
good.
difficult to see that.
yeah, I know Stephen he's probably one of the nicest grandmasters around.
Well, I
He's
mean,
a really nice guy.
Didn't you have like a problem at this stage that your position was so good, but you didn't want to beat him?
Yeah, he was so lovely. I was actually going to just I was going to go to the toilet with my mobile phone, but I thought I might get kicked out the tournament.
And that was the end of the game. The rook finds itself trapped.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
bishop on d6, rooks attacked, and the bishop on d6 is also under threat.
Therefore, Queen.
So,
No
yeah,
good.
I mean, it's a fabulous game, well, all 3 games were really, very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, look,
It was all your training.
I thought we've run out of time in this show. So let me just ask you to finish off, Charlie. You've changed your life dramatically recently. I mean, you're still doing chess, obviously, but you now are in Gozo. Is that right?
I'm currently in Gozo, yes.
And what are you doing there? And what are your
Well,
plans?
I've had a fascinating time here. So I came here. I had to come 4 months before Brexit to officially be able to live here. I'm now. I have a resident card here, which can last for 10 years if I wanted to. I came here with the idea of setting up a chess cafe and chess training centre. And I was going to do that with some partners here, but they weren't quite ready to commit. They were too frightened to commit because of COVID, which was probably quite wise, but that wasn't going to stop my enthusiasm. So I set it up myself, and I got a stunning place in Gozo, really beautiful place. And I was intending to go into schools here and promote chess, and we try and turn Gozo into a chess hub. Because at the moment, they're not really into chess here, and not even in the slightest, actually. They're quite a religious society, and it's been quite hard to actually stimulate them into chess. But anyway, I've been running the restaurant now for 6 months, but I've decided to let it go. Quite simply, there's been a lot of restrictions going on, which has resulted in some of the trade not being as much as I would have liked. And I was prepared to take that on the chin until the high season. Normally these cafes are all about high season, which we're now coming into.
Yeah.
High season is April until October. However, my analysis of this war situation is it's going to damage the tourist trade, and it's also going to put prices up, and customers, they don't like to pay high prices. And unfortunately, in all the restaurant trade, they're going to have to start putting the prices up to justify it. And the problem is then people don't go out to restaurants as much, and it's already a very competitive market for restaurants. So I've decided to step away from the restaurant trade and refocus back on the chess. I didn't really know what I was doing when I got into it, but I've learned a lot, and actually I know quite a lot about the industry now. But I also know enough now that the war that's going on is actually going to detrimentally affect the profits of it, to the extent the profits would be minimal.
Have you managed to sell your restaurant?
I made an arrangement with someone. Not technically sold it, but I made a deal with someone which I'm quite happy about. I'll discuss that with you in private at some point.
That's good.
There's a private transaction. But my steps for the future are: I'm going to return to England. I'm going to spend some time in Greece, and then my new plan is once the summer is over in Dubai, I am going to venture to Dubai and try to become a grandmaster, and also do some coaching out there, because Dubai has the best chess club in the world. It is heavily funded by the royal family out there, and I want to go and participate in a lot of their chess tournaments and play some chess and pick up a few students there and see if I can become a grandmaster out there and maybe develop some chess in the school programs simultaneously.
Shall we put Charlie Chess up again? I'm just gonna put up Charlie Chess once more. Seeing as you're moving out of the restaurant business.
Yeah, I'm out of the restaurant business now. I shouldn't have went into it really, but
it looked like you had to work very, very hard.
I was working way too hard, and when I went into it, I was actually intending to get a 50-50 investor. I needed a chef, and it was so difficult to find a chef. And find one that was
We've done
investor was impossible. So I know you're a good cook, Andy. I mean, maybe you could have been a chef if you came over. Could have had a cracking facility.
Yeah, I would have made a good chef, but I think my charges might have been slightly too high. You know.
Yes.
The average chef doesn't earn that much, do they?
They don't, and it's actually very hard work.
Oh, killingly hard work. Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, to be honest. But one thing I've learned is that I will not be stepping back into the restaurant business.
There might be an opening for you if we ever go terrestrial again with Master Chess Roadshows, because we could have improved our catering overall, probably.
Actually, there's one way I would get back into catering, and the easiest way for anyone to make money in the catering business. I'm not sure I should share it with you, but I'm going to. It's like this. You get a candy floss machine, and you park it up at the main tourist site where you're allowed to park it up. And that candy floss machine, you will make a mint. And that's what I've learned about the whole catering industry. That's the only way.
That's quite the next British Championship. Park up outside.
I'm gonna bring it around. My little candy floss with different colours on.
Okay.
Well, okay, it's been an amazing show, actually, hasn't it? We're now a quarter of an hour over time. Nigel's going to wrap up.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and also if you subscribe to our Twitch channel, we would be really grateful, right? Because we have to be kept off the street here, and also Charlie, you've got a Twitch channel too. What's it called?
I do have a Twitch channel.
We haven't done many shows, right?
I got what I've been that busy since I arrived in Malta and Gozo mainly. I've been that busy doing stuff. I actually haven't been online for a while, but I'm gonna see if I can get it. 2 seconds. I will remind myself. Oh, there it is. I think it's called Storey Sniper.
Okay, Storey Sniper on Twitch, and when we figure out the how to use this, maybe we could do like some Twitch venture or something. We'll
that would be great. Yeah, I'll Twitch. I normally Twitch when somebody starts attacking my king. So I'm not sure why it's called Twitch. It's a bit of a funny word, but you know.
Well,
it's getting popular,
to everybody viewing, don't forget that Charlie's an outstanding coach, so you can get in touch with him via his website. Is that correct, Charlie?
that would be great. Yes.
Anybody who's looking for coaching, they can get in touch with
me.
Charlie via the website, and we will put up a contact address.
Interestingly, you two were my main influences as a chess coach, and the other guy you had on the show, Adrian. You were actually my 3 main coaching influences. And Nigel, you probably didn't know that. Andy already knew. But
I didn't know that. Well, we're forming a little nest of chess coaches here, aren't we?
Yes. Obviously, I stand in your shadows, but you know, that's because I know where the sunspots are.
I'm afraid they're getting ever longer. The shadows are getting ever longer as the years go by.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much for coming.
Okay. Excellent show, guys. Thank you, guys. See you later.
I'll see you when I get back to England.
Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Right. Bye.